if you didn't know, 4 years ago, the Oscars set forth to right all of the wrongs that have been done by white people in the industry of Hollywood. They put in new guidelines for diversity, equity, and inclusion. All of those guidelines went into effect this year, the year 2024. And after looking at the winners for the Oscars in this past week, doesn't matter. Seems like it was all white people that ended up winning anyway. So we're right back to Oscars so white where we were not that long ago.
Do you guys know the theory behind this as to why it keeps happening?
Why?
So I think it's like pretty well understood that Hollywood is very divided over the Israel stuff.
Okay.
Israel and Palestine. And so a bunch of actors are Palestine and a lot of like POC people in particular. And then there's the Israel faction. And I mean, like the rumor is that this is like pushback for being pro-Palestine.
It's like watching a bunch of Marxists fall into a bucket together and have to beat each other up to get out. This was the real reason here. I mean, that is probably a huge part of it. But the thing is the new requirements that were put into place are essentially all smoke and mirrors. And I'll explain to you how. This is an article that was out on Breitbart last week. It says the reality is pretty simple. Like much of Hollywood, it's an illusion. The Academy's DEI mandates are broken down into 4 sections. On-screen diversity, cast and story, behind-the-camera diversity, like the crew, industry access, studio provides internships and training for women and minorities, and D, audience development, women and minorities in executive roles in the studio marketing, PR, and distribution. They only have to fulfill 2 of those requirements.
Yeah.
None of them require them to be the ones that are on screen. So as long as they are bringing in executives that are younger and minorities and or women and following those guidelines from these bottom 2 tier categories, they're fine to put as many white people on screen as possible, which proves to you that they don't actually care about making meaningful change, at least not in the way that they perceive it, right?
Also, any women are still considered diverse employees.
Yes.
So they happen to be 50% of the population. This basically means it's almost impossible to not meet the eligibility requirements.
Yeah.
And it's also almost impossible to do the math on which movies fit the requirements. So they're going to just let everyone through. But
literally yesterday, like I was on Stream with Valiant Renegade and Mexican Iron Man was on there and he's saying like, it's amazing how white women have just kind of pushed their way into being part of the diverse crowd. Right?
Yeah.
They did. They kind of superseded. They pushed themselves to the front of the line.
Do you think so?
Yes, I do.
I truly think that like modern day white women are being seen with the same contempt as like boomer old men.
I mean, I don't know. Not within Hollywood, maybe.
I think so. Like truly.
Well, these days it's starting to be a thing where, you can't be considered truly diverse unless you've got multiple diversity requirements on your rap sheet. So you can't just be gay, you also have to be a gay minority. Yeah. You can't just be a woman, you have to be a woman of color. Like right. and you just add those on layer by layer.
Like I haven't heard like of a story of a Gwyneth Paltrow that didn't have some intonation of like, oh my god, roll my eyes.
Somewhere in the world, a women's summit just happened. Just now. It was just happening.
Feminism is definitely still in charge in Hollywood.
So this was a tweet from Peachy Keenan. Best Picture, all-white cast. Best Supporting Actor, white guy. Best Actor, white guy. Best Actress, white chick. Best Director, white guy. Best Director of a Short Film, white guy. Best Song, white chick. And of course, Best Picture, Oppenheimer. Best Supporting Actor, Robert Downey Jr. Best Actor, Cillian Murphy. Best Actress was Emma Stone for Poor Things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Emma Stone's win was the most controversial because she was nominated for Best Actress against Lily Gladstone from Killers of the Flower Moon, who happens to be Native American. And when Emma Stone won the award, they pictured her sitting there and her reaction was like, oh no. Like she could see the backlash that was about to come. So someone said the look on Emma Stone's face that says, they're gonna crucify me for winning over Lily Gladstone. I've never seen anyone so horrified to win an Oscar. And someone said, well, maybe she knows that as of 96 years, she is now the 94th white recipient of her award. I would be effing horrified and embarrassed.
Some Kobe stats right there.
And then they said, I think the biggest disappointment, other than Lily Gladstone's loss, was Killers of the Flower Moon having 10 nominations and winning nothing. Worst Oscars robbery in recent memory.
So do you think that this is related to the fact that there's a certain factions that are pro-Palestine?
I've heard that it's that.
It has been hilarious watching Hollywood try and figure out where they stand on this issue, because it's the first time where they're not all universally in sync on how to deal with these things. Obviously, there have been casting rewrites and all of these people that have lost work for it. This was my favorite of those responses, though, was from someone who's named Chef Guevara on Twitter. Says she should have refused it. He's I'm assuming he's trolling people here. And so he says, that's not how it works. And he says, yes, it is. No, she shouldn't. And then he just starts calling people names. And then somebody says, I worked incredibly hard for this award, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to refuse it because my skin is white. Unironically, yes, that's how they see it in Hollywood.
I think that the reason for this one specifically might be that Emma Stone was in a movie that promotes pedophilia, and Hollywood is all about celebrating that.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, they're like, look, we would give the award to the Native American,
the ultimate minorities.
Yeah, but we can't because there's somebody who's promoting pedophilia, which we have to let you know that we enjoy.
Yeah, which is true art. So for context, the movie is called Poor Things, and essentially it's about this mother who is pregnant. She commits suicide, and a twisted scientist replaces her brain with the brain of her baby daughter. And what ensues in the film is that this baby in an adult woman's body engages in a bunch of sexual debauchery with adult men. And that's supposed to be a read on, sexual liberation and like fighting the patriarchy and stuff. And like, if you don't like it, then you just don't have media literacy. You know, you just don't get art if you don't think that that's good and you don't think that should be promoted.
It's a baby brain in a woman's body.
Yes.
How would they ever tell the difference? Hey-o.
There was so Josh Denny, somebody else said, this was another tweet. The Jews in Hollywood at the Oscars tonight should be ashamed of themselves. Not a single bold statement about Israel's right to defend itself from genocidal terrorism. Liberals willingly endorsing their own annihilation in the name of tolerance.
Okay, so is that a wink at my theory then?
Yeah, well,
there's also a pro-Palestine protest going on simultaneously with the Oscars in LA.
Which is hilarious because they shoo them away the same way whenever these things go on, they shepherd out the homeless people. Because Hollywood doesn't act, just like the awards. It's obvious, it's actually kind of funny how analogous all of this is, right? Just like the awards, which are supposed to inject diversity, it really is all just a veneer. A facade, just like how it looks outside, where, oh my gosh, it looks so beautiful out there. Well, yes, because you got rid of all the homeless people who will be back the day after tomorrow when you're done.
So is it possible that, just as we were saying that, I don't know if this was on camera or off, that basically like owning the libs, quote unquote, it like just isn't as funny anymore or as fun. Is this, like all these industries and marketing and all these things, since the digital age, they pretty much all run on metrics.
Okay.
And, metrics typically take like 4 to 5 years to accumulate and study when it's like super big data source. So I wonder if they're getting, like data samples from 4 years ago. It's like, man, people are honestly fed up. Like it's not even working with liberals and progressives. Like it's a super minority. We're losing money, and they have those statistics, and they're just reining it back. Because I think back of this girl that was gonna be Snow White, and everyone was like, oh, like they want her off the role because she was insufferable. And I feel like, yes, she was insufferable, but it was literally equally equivalent to every single insufferable feminist or progressive that has had a spotlight on them. And with her, like the dam broke. I truly
equally insufferable to Gal Gadot in the very same interviews. most notably.
What do you
Gal
say?
Gadot
Sorry,
was
what?
sitting there next to Rachel Zegler saying all of the same
Right,
stuff.
that's what I mean,
And even
like-
bringing it up first, being like, she doesn't need the prince. It's not about love. And everyone loves Gal Gadot, but
Yeah.
Rachel Zegler got the lion's share of the hate for those interviews.
So I really don't understand that event, but I feel that maybe the stats are in and they're rating this back for the next global consciousness mind virus.
So we got tired of owning the libs, and they got tired of virtue signaling. It seems like a win-win.
No, I don't think it's. I mean, they're still virtue signaling, and we're still quote unquote owning the list.
I didn't watch the broadcast, but so I wouldn't know if anyone brought up Palestine or Israel on stage.
I'm sure, or Trump or whatever.
Trump got brought up.
Yeah, Trump did in fact get brought up by Jimmy Kimmel, who was hosting, and it's because Trump,
Released a statement.
with his roots in the entertainment industry, just couldn't help himself but to put in his 2 cents. And this was his post on Truth Social. He said, "Has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less than average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Get rid of Kimmel and perhaps replace him with another washed up but cheap ABC talent, George Slopinopoulos. He would make everybody on stage look bigger, stronger, more glamorous. Also, a really bad politically correct show tonight and for years. Disjointed, boring, and very unfair. Why don't they just give the Oscars to those that deserve them? Maybe that way their audience and TV ratings will come back from the depths. Make America great again." You just had to end that with "Make America Great Again." And it got like 6,000 retruths. So, I mean, it must be true. It must be true. So Jimmy Kimmel brought up this Truth Social post on stage, looking at his phone, and did this really cringy clap back.
Yeah.
Do we have the clip?
I had it here. So, yeah, here it is.
I was just, doing this show is not about me, and I appreciate you having me. It's really about you and Emma and all these great actors and actresses and filmmakers. But
Hold the phone. I thought you weren't supposed to say actresses anymore. I'm triggered.
I am triggered.
I was told we have like an extra minute, and I'm really proud of something. I was wondering if I could share it with you. I just got a review, and has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less than average person trying too hard to be
it's not
something
even
which he
hitting
is
for
not
them.
and never can be. Get rid of Kimmel and perhaps replace him with another washed up but cheap ABC talent, George Slopinopoulos. He would make everybody on stage look bigger, stronger, and more glamorous. Blah, blah, blah. Make America great again. Okay, now, see if you can guess which former president just posted that on Truth Social. Anyone? No? Well, thank you, President Trump. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still... Isn't it past your jail time?
He's so joyless.
He really got him on that one. Interesting that he left out the part of the post that mentioned their ratings flopping.
Yep.
Can't mention that on air.
He's like remarkably joyless.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't seem
For a comedian.
no, but for a host, I mean, is it the point of a host like just being like charismatic and trying to carry the show?
Not anymore. I think the idea is they got to be more like window dressing. They're just there to be as unobtrusive as possible.
Since maybe Ricky Gervais's Golden Globes
Yes.
incident.
Yep.
Just don't attract any attention.
Yep. Also, I want to point out the other funny thing that happened is that the one award that Barbie managed to win was for best song, but it wasn't "I'm Just Ken" because they couldn't give it to Ryan Gosling, so they gave it to Billie Eilish.
So it's diverse because she's female.
Exactly.
And gay.
It's very. It's
Oh
very,
yeah,
very diverse.
and bisexual allegedly.
Supposedly. Yeah, it's all a shit show. And when I look at stuff like this, the great thing about these types of segments is like you don't even have to watch this crap anymore. You can just follow along on Twitter and catch the moments. It didn't seem, for the most part, heavily political. in any sense of the word. The one good segment was when Danny DeVito and Arnie were on stage and they bring up Michael Keaton. And he goes like, because he's played Batman, and Danny DeVito, and they were both in Batman movies.
Yeah.
That was like the one good part of the whole show.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.